Before you begin disassembly, ensure that you have all the proper cleaning equipment prepared. This includes eye protection, 4 cleaning rods, one with a handle, 1 by 1 inch barrel patches, a clean rag, a nylon brush, an eyelet, a chamber brush, 2 bore brushes, 1 serviceable, 1 unserviceable, CLP, also known as cleaner, lubricant, and preservatives, and finally, pipe cleaners. Before you disassemble your weapon, ensure that it's clear. The first step is to ensure that your weapon is on safe. If the weapon is not on safe and will not go there, go to the second step, removing the magazine. If there is one, this can be done by pressing on the magazine release button on the right side of the weapon. Next, check the chamber for rounds. If the bolt is not locked to the rear, press on the bottom of the bolt catch, pull back, and push forward on the charging handle. This will lock the bolt to the rear, allowing you to check for rounds in the chamber. This one is empty. The last step is to ensure that your weapon is on safe. Remember these steps: safety, magazine, chamber, safety. Remember, safety first, safety last. When you're ready to begin disassembly, turn the weapon on its side and strike the bolt release with your hand. This will send the bolt forward so you can disassemble your weapon. Next, look at the left side of your weapon. You'll notice 2 pins. The pivot pin, located near the tapered slip ring just above the magazine well, and the takedown pin, located just above the safety selector switch. There are 2 ways to loosen these pins. 1. Tap each pin with the bottom of a magazine, or 2. Press in on one of the pins, simultaneously charging the weapon. Repeat this step for the second pin. This will loosen both the pins so they can be pulled out on the right side of the weapon. Here's what the process looks like. Let's take a closer look. Press in on one of the pins with your thumb and charge the weapon. Repeat this process for the second pin. Then, on the right side of the weapon, simply pull up on both pins and separate the receivers. After separating the receivers, place the upper receiver upside down on the table, resting on the carrying handle and the front side assembly. With one hand, hold the hand guards, and with the other, grab the charging handle and pull it to the rear. Then pull out the bolt carrier group and set it on the table, as well as the charging handle. Next, we'll remove the hand guards. Form a C with your hand and place your fingers along the seams of the hand guards. Come down to the tapered slip ring. Pull the weapon against your body and pull down on the slip ring and out on the bottom of the handguard to remove it. Then flip the weapon over and repeat this process. Make sure that you're pulling away from the hand that is holding the tapered slip ring. Let's take a closer look. Pull down on the slip ring and out on the handguard. Flip the weapon and repeat the process. Now pick up your lower receiver. Locate the buffer detent pin. It's touching the buffer and is located directly in front of the buttstock. Using your charging handle, press in on the detent pin toward the receiver. Pressing in on the detent pin will release the buffer and action spring. At this point, press down on the hammer and pull up on the buffer and action spring and remove it from the lower receiver. Then separate the buffer and action spring. Finally, we'll disassemble the bolt carrier group. Use an eyelet to push on the back of the firing pin retaining pin and then pull it from the bolt carrier. This will allow you to remove the firing pin. After you move the firing pin from the bolt carrier, rotate and remove the bolt cam pin. Now, simply pull the bolt from the bolt carrier. Using the firing pin retaining pin, push the extractor pin from the bolt. Now, remove the extractor. Let's look at each step individually. First, use an eyelet to push on the back of the firing pin retaining pin. Then grab the firing pin retaining pin and pull it from the bolt carrier. Next, remove the firing pin. This will allow you to turn the bolt cam pin 1/4 turn, and then push the bolt all the way in. At this point, ensure that the bolt cam pin is parallel with the gas key, or you will not be able to remove it. Simply turn the bolt carrier over and the pin should fall out. Now, pull the bolt from the body of the bolt carrier. Using your thumb, push on the back of the extractor to relieve spring tension. Use your firing pin retaining pin to push in on the extractor pin. Push it all the way through. Remove the firing pin retaining pin, and then remove the extractor. Danger: do not exchange or switch bolt assemblies from one rifle to another. Doing so could result in injury or death. You have now successfully completed the field strip disassembly of your M16 A2. Let's now take a look at how to clean your weapon. When cleaning your weapon, you should take time to inspect your parts for serviceability. We will not go into detail about inspection in this video. However, there are some general things to look for during inspection. BMW: broken, missing, or worn parts. You're also looking for things such as spring tension, cleanliness, and lubrication. To begin, you'll need 3 cleaning rod sections and the serviceable bore brush. Connect the cleaning rods together, tighten them all the way, and then slightly loosen each connection. Attach the bore brush to the last cleaning rod section. Then, pick up the CLP and spray the bore brush. Pick up the upper receiver with barrel pointed down. Drop the cleaning rod with the threaded section down into the barrel. The brush should point up toward the ceiling. Pick up the cleaning rod section that has a handle, attach it to the other cleaning rods, and pull straight out. Remove the cleaning rod handle and loosen the joints. When you've completed this process 5 times, we can change the bore brush for the eyelet and swab the bore. For this next process, you'll need CLP, an eyelet, patches, and 3 cleaning rods. Remove the bore brush and attach the eyelet to the cleaning rods. Ensure that the joints are somewhat loose. Take the patch, fold it corner to corner. It should look like this. Insert the patch into the eyelet halfway. Just for this first patch, take CLP and spray it once. Pick up the upper receiver with the barrel pointed to the table. Drop the threaded end of the cleaning rods through the barrel. The patch should point to the ceiling. Then pull out the rods, inspect, and remove the old patch so a new one can be put on. Repeat this process until the patches are clean. For this next process, you'll need CLP, a chamber brush, and a cleaning rod with a handle. Attach the chamber brush to the cleaning rod. Close the handle and slide it forward. Spray the chamber brush once with CLP. Get the upper receiver and insert the brush into the upper receiver into the chamber area. Then proceed to push and turn. Ensure that you only turn the brush clockwise. Attention! Only use the unserviceable bore brush for this next step. This procedure will ruin a serviceable bore brush. For this next procedure, get the T-section cleaning handle and the unserviceable bore brush. Attach the brush to the handle. Insert the brush into the upper receiver. Scrub the area around the protruding gas tube. Attention! Gas tubes will discolor from heat. Do not attempt to remove this discoloration. Scrub the remaining sidewall areas and rub down the inside of the upper receiver with a rag. For this next procedure, you're going to need the nylon brush, pipe cleaners, the T-handle, and your bolt carrier. The pipe cleaner will be used to clean the various holes that are in the bolt carrier. Pay close attention to the gas key and make sure that you get all the carbon out that you can. Use that pipe cleaner, more if you need to clean out the remaining holes. When you're done with that, use the nylon brush to scrub the entire outside of the bolt carrier. There are some areas you'll need to pay particular attention to, such as this area here that is in front of the gas key. It becomes particularly dirty after firing. Also ensure that you clean the inside of the bolt carrier thoroughly. Do so by inserting the brush on the inside and scrubbing all the side walls, to include the front. When you're done with the brush, pick up the T-handle, insert it into the front of the bolt carrier, and scrub the side walls. This will knock out any more carbon that's left. The last step is to spray a clean patch one time with CLP. Lightly lube the outside of the bolt carrier with this patch. This is so you can leave a light coat of lubrication on the bolt carrier body. Next, wipe down the outside of the bolt carrier with a clean rag. Next, we'll clean the extractor. To do this, you'll need to use your eyelet. Use the threaded part of the eyelet as a scraper tool. Pay close attention to the area around the gas rings. You can also use the opposite side of the eyelet as a scraper tool. When you're done using the eyelet, pick up your nylon brush and use it to scrub the entire outside of the bolt. This area being cleaned where the lugs are is prone to carbon buildup. You can use the eyelet to scrape the carbon away from this area if you need to. Also clean the inside of the bolt by using pipe cleaners to shove all the way through one end to the other. Then wipe down the interior of the bolt. Next, you'll want to clean the extractor. The area that you really want to pay attention to is this area here, the part that actually grabs onto the round. Make sure it's free from carbon. We'll next clean the firing pin. You'll need a nylon brush and the eyelet. Use the nylon brush to scrub the entire firing pin. Then, wipe down the firing pin with a rag so you can see the remaining carbon. Scrape it off with the eyelet using either the threaded or the eyelet side. Then wipe the firing pin clean. The last parts of the bolt carrier group that are left to clean are the firing pin retaining pin and the bolt cam pin. Simply wipe these two pieces down with a clean rag. Next, clean your charging handle. Do this by scrubbing the recess with the nylon brush. Then, simply wipe it down. Caution: the lower receiver is made of aluminum. Do not use a wire brush or any type of abrasive material to clean aluminum surfaces. Grab a nylon brush and scrub the hammer. Make sure to get all sides. Then scrub the area right behind the bolt catch. When you're done scrubbing the bolt catch, grab the rag, wipe down all the areas that you just scrubbed. Next, begin to wipe down the outside surfaces of the lower receiver. Don't forget to wipe inside of the magazine well. Next, clean your buffer and action spring. This can be done by wiping them down. No scrubbing is needed. The last parts to be cleaned are the handguards. Simply wipe down the handguards. No scrubbing is needed. Some discoloration may occur because of heat, but do not try to remove this discoloration. Begin reassembly by attaching the top and bottom handguards. They are interchangeable. As you put them in place, you'll notice that they have prongs. The bottom one will have one prong sticking out. The top one will have two prongs sticking out. This is normal. Do not try to put these extra prongs inside of the weapon. Reattach the handguards the same way you took them off. Pull down on the tapered slip ring and put the handguards in place. Now reconnect the buffer and action spring. Make sure they are locked together. Insert the action spring into the lower receiver. Using your palm, push straight down, locking it in place. Next, reassemble the bolt carrier group. Start by putting the extractor on. Remember to push on the back of the extractor to relieve the spring tension. Then put in the extractor pin. Put the extractor in the bolt carrier in 10 o'clock position. That is, the extractor should be at the 10 o'clock position in relation to the gas key. Next, take the bolt cam pin and insert it into the bolt. Make sure that you turn the bolt cam pin so it is now perpendicular to the gas key. Next, cover up the holes in the bolt carrier with your hands. Drop the firing pin down into place. Pick up the firing pin retaining pin and insert it in the side that has just one hole. This is important because if you try to reinsert the firing pin retaining pin in any other hole, even that same hole on the opposite side of the bolt carrier, it will cause your weapon to jam. Finally, with the bolt pointed up, tap the bolt carrier in your hand to make sure the firing pin doesn't fall out. We will now reinstall the charging handle into the upper receiver. You'll notice the charging handle has two small flanges, one on either side. These small flanges line up with a hole in the upper receiver. When reinstalling the charging handle, ensure that the flanges meet up with this hole and then lower it down into the receiver rails. With the upper receiver upside down, as well as the charging handle, insert the charging handle in the large hole, slip it into place. Then, pick up the bolt carrier group. Pull the bolt all the way out as far as it will go. Insert the gas key into the recess in the charging handle. Push both in place until they lock. Finally, realign the holes on both receivers. Once the holes are aligned, push the pins in to lock the receivers together. Danger. If the rifle fails any of the following inspections, continued use of the rifle could result in injury or death. First, ensure that your weapon is clear. The first step is to check safety. The second step is to remove the magazine if there is one. Third step, check the chamber for rounds. The last step, check for safety. When you've cleared your weapon, send the bolt forward. With the weapon on safe, pull the trigger. Nothing should happen. Put the weapon on semi. Pull and hold the trigger. Charge the weapon. Slowly release the trigger. You should hear an audible clunk. Here are those steps again. Place the weapon on semi. Pull and hold the trigger to the rear. Don't let go. Charge the weapon one time. Slowly release the trigger. An audible click should be heard, but the hammer should not fall. Complete this process 6 times. To check the burst function, place your weapon on burst and pull the trigger. Hold it to the rear and charge 3 times. Slowly release the trigger. Once again, place the weapon on burst. Pull and hold the trigger to the rear. Do not let go. Charge the weapon 3 times. Slowly release the trigger. An audible clunk should be heard, but the hammer should not fall. Complete this process 2 times. After checking the burst function, place the weapon on semi and pull the trigger. Attempt to place the weapon on safe. It should not go on safe. Close the dust cover. This completes the function check. On behalf of the 342nd Training Squadron Combat Weapons Flight, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you use the skills taught within it, you'll become a master at cleaning your weapon, disassembly, reassembly, and function check. This will help you to ensure that you have reliable functionability of your weapon at all times.